How you doing, everybody? It's January the 6th, 2010, and it's sort of late on the evening. It's coming up to 10 o'clock, and very bad weather here in Dublin today, and I'm sure lots of people had difficulty getting home. It took my wife three and a half hours to get out of Dublin today. So anyway, I just want to talk about a couple of things immediately, and then the follow-up is I think a very, very important article in this evening's Evening Herald, and it's about the general state indebtedness and our well-being as a state. Before I do that, I just want to talk about two things. I put the link up there. They're from the Independent today, and one is just a social article from the Dean with Health, our health service, and it seems we have not moved forward at all, really. All the statistics, all the facts, all the bullshit they give you constantly. 400 people, it says, are waiting on hospital trolleys at the minute. 400 fucking people. It's truly hard to believe. We spend all this money, billions upon billions every year, and a little country like Cuba would spend maybe a 50th of that. They can have an advanced health service, like, you know what I mean? I believe it's the envy of the world, as is their educational service. And it's all up the left. The whole thing's all crazy. It's all crazy. But then what do you expect? You've got an obese Minister of Health. Like, the whole thing's all contradiction. It's like having a Minister of Education who can't read or write. Anyway, just move on from that. We have a Revenue Commissioner who seems to be a genuine person. Her name is Josephine Healy. And she addressed a meeting of senior tax officials quite recently. And she told them that she was very, very unhappy about the fact that a lot of them were jumping ship and going into the private sector. In other words, what they were doing is they were talking to their buddies in the CSO and their buddies in the ESRI and their buddies in the finance departments who are telling them the shit that's coming down the line. It's not too far down the line, a year, 2 or 3, which is going to be the third thing we're going to deal with. So what these senior guys are doing is they're getting the golden handshakes and jumping ship and hoping that the pension holds up. And what are they doing then? They're going and becoming consultants. They're like Davies stockbrokers and all these solicitors companies that deal with these pension funds and these individual trusts, these investment trusts, these elements of for tax evasion purposes that are set up, that are supposed to be legal, as it were. So what you have is you have large numbers of these, like the likes of that fella Quinlan who jumped ship. He was a tax inspector, a senior tax inspector. Now that was from way back. But that doesn't matter. It's the same principle adheres. They know the system. So obviously something has to be done about that. Because that's tantamount to conspiracy as far as I can see. But probably nothing will be done about it, so it doesn't even matter raising it. Anyway, the final thing I want to talk about is an article in tonight's Evening Herald. My wife was stuck on a bus for 3.5 hours, so she brought the paper home, and it's written by a lady called Clodagh Sheehy, and she's obviously an economist, but she got this stuff from, she got these facts and figures from the Department of Finance. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put it up here, I'm going to put a scan of it up here, I'll put it up now. Yeah, I didn't know this wouldn't scan. It didn't scan too well. So listen, what I'll do is I'll read out the first bit of it. I'll read out the first column to you here, and then you can, if you want, you can. I've put up the little link anyway, so you can have a butcher's at it yourself. It's quite interesting actually. It just deals with the state debt, and basically says the interest payment on our national debt will have soared to 7 billion a year within 5 years. So by 2014, that's what we'll be paying. The interest will be 5 billion. To pay this, €1 in every €5 taken in tax will go towards servicing the debt, according to the Department of Finance. Our national debt has soared from 25 billion in 2007 to 50 billion in 2008 and 75 billion last year. And Finance Minister Brian Lennon has expressed concern about the cost of servicing this debt. I'd like to think he would. The cost of servicing the interest payments alone on this huge debt has already increased from 1 billion to 2.5 billion last year in the space of a year, and it's expected to hit 7.75 billion in 2014. By this time, the national debt is set to top 148 billion. This projection does not include the 54 billion cost of the National Asset Management Agency, NAMA. We've already talked about that many times. These figures come as the opposition warns that the economy is in the grip of one of the worst recessions of the industrialised economy since World War II. Somebody must have woken them up. Exchequer returns for 2009 showed that there was a 24.6 billion deficit in the public finances compared to a deficit of 12.7 in 2008. Now the article goes on, it rambles a bit after that, but that's the general thrust of it, okay? And what I've done is I've drawn up a little chart which shows it in a visual sense where we're going, where we're actually where we're at and where we're going, okay? So we're going to have a look at that now. How you doing, everybody? Yeah, here's the look. This is a little chart I just drew up here, and it's very obvious what it is. It just tells you there. Along the bottom line, there's the years drawn out, and it tells you the increase in our state indebtedness. In 2006, we owed 25 billion. This year, the projection is that we're going to owe 100 billion. But we mustn't forget the service that is going to cost between around about 4 billion. That's the last budget. You know the last budget we had? That money we saved from that last budget is going to go to service this indebtedness. Not to pay it off, just to service the interest on it. And that doesn't include 54 billion. We've to add 54 billion on top of that. So this year alone, it's going to be around 100 billion. Okay, that's what we owe as a state to the rest of the world. The big banks we borrowed the money off, right? These sovereign funds and these pension funds and these private individuals that bought our treasuries and our gilts over the years, okay? And they have those contracts, and we have to pay the coupons for that every single year. To pay the coupons on that. So this year it's going to be around about, I'd say it'll be between 3.5 and 4 billion this year, and interest rates better not start going up. Otherwise we're going to be in diffs, but they're probably fixed. I'd say that's probably fixed anyway, so it won't affect it, but it will affect future ones. But then we arrive at a situation where the NAMA thing has to be included. So we've arrived at a situation where this year 100 billion plus 54 billion plus the interest, we're up to our GDP. That's our GDP. Our GDP this year is estimated to be 168 billion. That's what the estimate is. We owe that. I mean, come on. I mean, if I saw this from a company point of view, and it was a company that I was going to invest in, I would not be impressed. You'd run a million miles from the company. So we're fast approaching technical insolvency, stroke bankruptcy here, and if Brian Lillington thinks he's had a bad time last year dealing with problems, he ain't seen nothing yet. He ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, listen, we'll talk more about this. Okay, it's no use raving on about it and ranting on about it. We'll talk more as this thing develops, but you can see the seriousness of the situation. Okay? Good luck, everybody.